Okay, everybody. So, UFC 329. I mean, great card. You have to say that. Can't really say it was a great card from start to finish just because of obviously the way it ended. Um, I mean, just a gigantic, or maybe not a gigantic thing for the MMA world. Because, like, in reality, what does Conor McGregor's injury here change? Like, yeah, of course, this fight was super hyped up, but it's not like anyone really thought that Conor McGregor was a real threat in the welterweight division. Like, even if he won this fight against Max spectacularly and they wanted to put him against Islam Makhachev, like, I think anybody with half a brain would be picking Islam in that fight. It's like an obvious pick. So, like, I think the days of Conor McGregor being a legit title contender have been over since 2020. I think some people are just figuring this out now, but it's been over, I think, for a long time, to be honest. Um, but like, it's unfortunate. Like, everybody was really excited for this, and I'm not gonna get into his whole past and the sex crime allegations and all that. Like, we've talked about that on the channel before. I don't really want to get into it. Um, I mean, I don't feel really that bad for him. There's people that I would feel bad for, but not really him. It's just, it's unfortunate for really everybody involved. Like, the UFC kind of just ended this great event on a dud, and this was supposed to be one of the biggest fights of the year. Um, and yeah, I mean, we really just didn't get to see much with Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. And, Max gets the win by TKO, technically, but I mean, it's not the way anybody wants to get a win in the octagon. I mean, Conor McGregor tears his ACL, presumably, on the first kick that he throws. I mean, it's just I'll say this, like, I was telling people this yesterday because I had people over for the fights. You know, all the casual fans obviously ask me about Conor McGregor, and more people want to come by when he's fighting, of course. And people ask me sometimes, like, what makes MMA so interesting to you? And the thing that I always tell people is, like, no matter what you think truly anything can happen. And I gave a lot of people my thoughts on this fight beforehand when I was asked, and I don't necessarily think maybe I was right or wrong, but there's no way of knowing. It's just, you could think everything that could possibly happen, and then boom, Conor McGregor blows his knee out literally with the first kick that he throws, and it's like that just makes everything null and void. And that's kind of what I mean when I say truly anything can happen in this sport. And like, I'll have people ask me about like betting odds and stuff, like, maybe should I bet on this fight, should I bet on that fight? And I'll give them advice on that, but like, these are the types of situations that I try to warn them about, because I'm like, I'll give you my whole analysis, but an injury can, like, anything can happen in MMA. Like, that's the story, in my opinion, of this fight, that truly anything can happen in this sport. And in this case, it just happened to be on the biggest stage with the biggest star in the sport's history. And like, I know a lot of people are really disappointed. I mean, I was disappointed. I think everybody who was over at my house watching was disappointed. We wanted to see what he would look like after 5 years off. And yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, I'm sitting here the morning after, and like, we still don't necessarily know exactly what happened, but like, I'm assuming he tore his ACL. That's just what it looked like. Um, but I'm I'm sitting here at basically noon the next day, and I'm still just in awe of it. Like, I'm just so shocked that that's actually what happened in this fight after all the build up. Everybody, like I said, everybody asking me all these years, really, about like when Conor McGregor could return. And like, to put it into perspective, we've had this channel since, I think, early 2022. So like, this is genuinely the first Conor McGregor fight we've had a chance to cover, and like, I just don't even know what to tell you guys. Like I said, anything can happen in this sport. It's just unreal in that way. The consequences of every move can be so dire, and that's why I think a lot of these athletes deserve respect. And I didn't like what Jake Paul said. Actually, I don't know if you guys saw this. He put out a video kind of mocking the injury with a bunch of laughing emojis, and this is a guy who claims to be a fighter, and like, that's how you react to somebody getting injured. Like, don't get, if he got knocked out cold or something by Max Holloway and Jake Paul wanted to mock that, sure. But like, this was just such a freak accident. It's like you're just come on, man. And like I said, I have no sorrow for Conor McGregor. He's not somebody who deserves it. If you know anything about what he's done over the past few years, but I don't wish injury on anybody, even people who might deserve it. But like, I just it's just so unfortunate for everybody. Like I think everybody wanted to see a real fight here, and it was really interesting. I think this was actually one of the better matchups that they could have made for Conor McGregor. And what I kept telling people going in, like I favored Max heavily, obviously, because he's just been active and he's been beating a lot of good guys over the past 6 years, um, or 5 years, excuse me. And but the takeaway that I had at the end of fight week, it to me it seemed like Connor was actually starting to get in his head, and not even because of trash talk, but I think that Max really wanted to win on this big stage and prove to everybody that he could beat Conor McGregor. Obviously, after losing to him all those years ago, and it seemed like he was kind of mimicking Conor McGregor's energy and like kind of going to the beat of Connor's drum. And hey, that could have meant nothing. Like this is all, like I said, it all kind of is a wash anyway. But that's just kind of what I thought going in. I still favored Max. I thought Max was going to win by TKO, and I guess technically I was right. But I figured that Connor had a little more of a chance than I initially gave him when the fight was booked, just because of Max's whole demeanor during fight week. But Max gets the win, albeit in the most unspectacular way possible. It doesn't really do anything for him. Conor McGregor, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with him now? Uh, do we think that he's going to retire? I don't think so. I mean, he's if he came back after that broken leg, I think that, and he's torn his ACL before, so I kind of have this feeling that he is going to come back and get that final fight out of the way on his UFC contract. But I mean, to be fair, I haven't had an interest in seeing Conor McGregor compete in quite a long time. Like really after the third Poirier fight, like like that's what 2021, and he gets into all the stuff that he gets into after that, and like he's starting to do really well again business wise, even after all the scandals that have followed him. So I was kind of like, I think the sport has kind of passed Conor McGregor by, and I think that this result has kind of proved that in a way, albeit more so in a durability sense rather than an actual skill sense. But I just don't really have any interest in seeing Conor McGregor fight anymore. But I do believe that he's going to fight again. I don't think it's going to be when he said. I think he said that the last fight on his deal he wanted to have in April of, well, the UFC wanted him to have it in April of 2027. That's probably not going to happen if he tore his ACL. So, I mean, at the minimum is probably going to be a year until we see him again, if we even do. Um, it just sucks. It really sucks for everybody involved. So let's talk about the co-main event and maybe some of the other things that happened on the card, because the card was phenomenal. It sucks that it ended the way that it did. Um, but we got to talk about that co-main event. I mean, Paddy Pimblett. Oh my God! Like like that was by far the greatest win of Paddy Pimblett's career. Though he made that look so easy against a guy who is really, really good. And he beat him really at his own game. I mean, Benoit Saint Denis shoots for a takedown, and Paddy Pimblett locks up probably the most clean, efficient Darce I think I've ever seen watching mixed martial arts. And Paddy Pimblett is a guy who I've really been unsure about for a long time now. And the Gaethje fight kind of put me on to him a little more. I was impressed how he looked in that fight. I didn't think that he was going to look as good as he did, even though obviously he lost, but still, he made that a dog fight. And this fight really intrigued me for that reason, because I'm like, BSD is another top contender, and like Paddy didn't take an easy fight. Um, and then to see him just do that in under a minute to a guy that good, just absolutely outstanding. Immediately puts him back into the title picture. I mean, it has to. Um, I just I was so in shock. I mean, not as in shock as I was about the main event, but I'm like, I did not think that that fight was going to be that easy for Paddy Pimblett. I thought he could win it in that type of way, but I figured it would take a lot longer than that. I mean, literally the first takedown that BSD shoots and Paddy sinks in or cinches in that Darce, just it shows that his jujitsu is truly elite. And there's so many fights that you could book that would be so exciting for Patty. I mean, I still don't think he beats Ilya Taporia, but I would love to see it. I think that'd be a huge fight just because of their past history. A Charles Oliveira fight with Paddy Pimblett really intrigues me. I think that's the most interesting stylistic matchup that you could make with him. Uh, I mean, I think in the lightweight division, if Arman Saryukian doesn't get a title shot, that's just mind blowing. So like that's kind of why I think Oliveira versus Pimblett would be a fun one. But then again, I mean, Oliveira has a win over Justin Gaethje, so they could very easily make that fight, and I don't think you could really scoff at it that much just because of the win that Charles has over the champ. But to get back to Pimblett, I mean, talk about a statement win. That is definitely the biggest win of his career. It's like because before this, he was fighting guys who were at the tail end of their careers and like guys who weren't really on his level, and they kind of like they pushed him in a weird way. Like they really carefully picked his matchups on his way up. I mean, beating Tony Ferguson, Michael Chandler, like those wins, while he looked good in them, they didn't really prove anything to me because I'm like, he should beat these guys. And, you know, the fact that he did it doesn't really tell me anything. But this fight was a fight where I was truly not sure what was going to happen. And I was telling people that. Like, people were asking me about that fight, too, because, you know, a lot of people like Paddy the Baddy. And they're asking me, you know, what do you think? Do you think he's going to beat this guy? And I'm like, I think he can. I just don't know, though. I'm like, their skills were like direct contrasts of each other because Paddy Pimblett has good striking, but he does get hit a lot, and BSD has enough power that he could crack him. But then you go to the grappling, BSD has really good wrestling, but Paddy obviously has great jiu-jitsu. So it was like to me it was like who can implement their game in a better way. Whoever can do that is going to win this fight. And Paddy Pimblett did that and then some. I mean, BSD goes for a takedown. I can guarantee you he did not think that that was going to happen. Um, for Paddy to get that Darce, just absolutely unbelievable. And this was, like I said, by far the best win of his career. You know, on his way up, he beat a lot of older fighters. This was, in my opinion, the first win where he beat somebody who's a true top contender in his prime, at his level. And Paddy Pitt, well, maybe not at his level, actually, at least from what we saw. But, you know, going in, obviously, they were both top ranked. And to see it go that way, I mean, just amazing win for Paddy Pimblett. And after that war with Justin Gaethje, where his stock didn't really go down, this was the win that he needed. So just absolutely outstanding by Paddy. So let's go through the rest of the card really quickly because there is plenty to talk about. Mario Bautista getting revenge against Corey Sandhagen after that armbar that he got over him a few years ago. I remember that first fight. And I mean, just Mario Bautista proved himself. I know a lot of people don't like him that much just because of his style, but you know, Corey Sandhagen is one of the more elite fighters in this division. But even going in, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, Mario Bautista does have the style where if he can kind of stifle Corey's movement, could get interesting. And it did. And, you know, the scrambles on the ground were really fun to watch. It was just a really interesting fight. But Bautista gets the win, and now all of a sudden he's a top contender again. And it sucks for Corey Sandhagen. It really does suck for Corey Sandhagen. Because this is a guy who has just been so close to the top multiple times and just can't make that extra step. It sucks. It really does suck for him. But I really want to talk about this flyweight fight between Brandon Royval and Lonnie Kavanaugh because I mean, that was probably one of the best fights on the card, one of the best fights of the year. Royval gets the win, rear naked choke in the third round after all that craziness. Just unbelievable. And then like you go to the opener on the main card too. I mean, I always tell people that Terrence McKinney is an infinite money glitch if you bet on the fight to be like under a round and a half because I don't think he's gotten past the first round win or lose in like 90 something percent of his fights. So that's something. And it was funny because he was kind of dominating the round against King Green on the ground. And I remember sitting there with my friends and I was like, man, he actually might get to the second round. We're going to see some uncharted territory for Terrence McKinney. And then they get back to the feet and King Green just gets the win from there and at the last second of the first round. And like to me, it's kind of funny because I'm just like, oh well, this guy, just when you think he's gonna get past the first round, then that crazy shit happens. So like, shout out to King Green, by the way. I mean, just old man still got it. There were a few times in his career a few years ago, like where I thought that it was probably time for him to just call it. But he's still getting wins over good opponents. He's one of those guys who is a real test because let's face it, he's not good enough to beat the elite fighters in that division. Anybody who's really like in the top 15, maybe top 20. But, if you're not on your P's and Q's against King Green, he will beat you. He still has those skills and he has such an unorthodox style on the feet and that movement that people really aren't used to. And you can kind of replicate it with sparring partners if you get people who are good with that style, but it's not the same. He has a very he's one of those guys. I think Joe Rogan is the one who says this. Like, there's some fighters who you could just have a silhouette of their movement and you would know who it is. King Green is one of those people, and to get that win over a guy like Terrence McKinney, who is very dangerous, whether he wins or loses, he's like an attack dog the way he goes at people so quickly in the first round. So shout out to King Green for getting that win. To keep going, Rob Whittaker breaks Nikita Krylov's jaw at light heavyweight. I did not think that was how that was going to go. Usually, like when fighters go up in weight later in their careers as kind of like a last ditch effort for glory, it doesn't really go that well. And Krylov, he's a real light heavyweight and he's a good fighter. So Whittaker, I mean, to be fair to him, Whittaker, former champion, some of those skills maybe have diminished a little bit with age, but he's still an elite fighter. I mean, he proved it. He beat a really good guy at 205, and I don't know how much further he gets in the division after this. I really think that some of those guys at the top are just too big and too skilled. But then again, the light heavyweight division isn't as deep anymore, and it depends on who they match him up with. But shout out to him because I wasn't sure how he was going to look in this fight, and I think everybody loves Rob Whittaker. I mean, he's such a good dude. He's a fun fighter to watch. He's had some great moments in the octagon. So for him to get that win, absolutely incredible. Gable Steveson. So this is actually a fight I want to talk about a little bit. He fights Ellison, and like, kind of a squash match type of matchup, at least on paper, because of all the hype that Gable Steveson has, and he knocks him out in the first round with some knees and some punches. Really just beat him up against the cage at the end there. But the thing that I kind of noticed is that he's very hittable. And, this style that he implemented against Ellison might work in a fight like that against some of these guys at heavyweight, just because the heavyweight division is just god awful nowadays. But I have a lot of questions if Gable Steveson gets into like the top 5 in that division, which I think he'll probably be able to. Like I said, this fight kind of did tell me something. Like he was getting hit a little too much, in my opinion, in this fight. And granted, he hasn't had a lot of experience. He's definitely going to get better as time goes on. And like I said, the heavyweight division is so bad that he's probably going to be able to get to the top even with the flaws in his game. But I'm thinking to myself, like, if he fights someone like Ciryl Gane or like Volkov or somebody who is precise, who can like has that experience to get through a fight like this, I think that they would probably, currently at least, I think that they would probably beat Gable Steveson. But we'll see how his career progresses. I mean, obviously, it's hard to get a better start than a first round finish. So it went the way that he wanted it to go in the end. But, like I said, he's a little hittable. And at heavyweight, that's something that is a dangerous flaw because it just takes one shot in that division to put you out. And against some of the elite guys at heavyweight, I question his skill set. But hey, I mean, if he can take them down, I guess it's all a wash, right? But let's talk about bantamweight. We got to talk about this fight because Adrian Yanez, I'm happy for him. He's a guy who has gotten a lot better since the first kind of like hype train that he had in the UFC. Because I remember he was kind of getting hyped up a few years ago. Like I want to say it was still when they were like in the apex a lot in like 2021, 2022. Could be wrong about that, but his boxing has always looked really crisp, but his defense was never really that good, in my opinion. He's another guy, like kind of like Gable Steveson. Like he get well, not kind of like stylistically, but like Yanez would get hit a lot, and that ended up being kind of what stunted his growth when he got to a certain point in the bantamweight division. But he fights a guy in Cody Garbrandt who I just don't want to see him fight anymore. I want to give Yanez full credit because Cody is still a dangerous guy against the right opponent. But to me, this was like a good test for Cody because I'm like, Yanez is good, but he's not elite, at least not yet. So I was like, if Cody can get through him, I think that would tell us something. But if he can't get through him, and if he gets finished, like, what are we doing? And he gets finished easily, really, by Yanez, and just, I don't know. I just don't want to see him getting knocked out. He's been knocked out a few times badly, and this was no different. And I just don't need to see that anymore. I mean, he's done so much already in the sport. I mean, he's been a champion. He's beaten some good guys, but you know, how much longer do we need to see him getting starched like that? Luke Riley beating Kai Kamaka III. That was pretty impressive. I wasn't as impressed with his last win, but this one I was very impressed. Although Kamaka is another guy who's very hittable sometimes. It was kind of a good matchup for Riley, but still, I mean, you have to be good to get a first round finish against a UFC caliber opponent. So, just outstanding by Luke Riley. Very curious to see what they do with him next. Wang Kong defeating Tracy Cortez. I mean, Wang Kong is a fighter to keep your eye on at women's flyweight. I mean, this was a good win for her. Tracy Cortez, I know people kind of like to hate on her sometimes, but she's a good fighter. She's a good wrestler. She's got decent enough boxing. But Wang Kong, I mean, she's impressive. I liked how she looked in this fight. The last fight I really want to talk about is my favorite name in the UFC because every time Tiz probably gets so mad at me because like I text him when this guy fights and I'll always make jokes about the name, but Damian Penis. I mean, come on. Look at that. The knockout that he had over Almeida. I mean, just first round, knocked him out cold. Just outstanding. Penis hard right in Almeida's face. So I can't help myself. I'm sorry. I'm like a 10-year-old. But in all seriousness, though, Damian Penis is I can't even say it. He's a good fighter. Like I want to say that. Like he is a really good fighter. He's a guy that you should keep your eye on. His name is just never gonna escape everybody. I'm pretty sure that's how you actually say it too. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I really because he is a good fighter. Like he deserves so much respect. He's a prospect that I'm genuinely paying attention to because he's looked very good so far in the UFC. But like that name, man, it's just. I mean, I don't even know if I can keep talking seriously after that. But just a great win by him. And like I said, you guys should definitely keep paying attention and if you guys want to see a good middleweight prospect. But like I said, really good card. Just, it's just unfortunate the way that it ended with Conor McGregor after all that hype for it to end like that. But what are you going to do? Honestly, what are you going to do? So, curious what you guys thought of UFC 329 as a whole. Please tell me in the comments. Figured I'd hop on here and give you guys a quick recap. I know we're not doing the weekly podcasts anymore, but this was too big of a moment to not talk about, obviously. So it just, like I said, very consequential in some ways. I mean, there were some fights on this card that are definitely going to matter for their divisions in the future, but the main event, I mean, nothing has changed. We still have all these question marks about Conor McGregor, although I think his durability is a even bigger question mark now. And for Max Holloway, it's like, it sucks. What have you learned? He got a win, but we didn't learn anything. So, interesting card. They stacked it up. They don't do that every week anymore. And this card was, from start to finish, a really fun one on paper. And a lot of those fights lived up to the hype. Just sucks that the main event didn't. So, it is what it is, as Max Holloway says. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. So, peace.
Feels just like a superstar. Doing all these drugs, I don't think I'm gonna see tomorrow. Living fast, brand new dash up in a foreign car. It's the type of shit that you be doing when you going hard.